As Kyiv gets ready for a new onslaught against invading Russian soldiers, NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg stated today that he is confident that Ukraine is preparing to recapture more land. When asked if Ukraine has what it needs to carry out the offensive successfully, Stoltenberg reportedly said as follows to journalists in Germany. "I'm confident that they will now be in a position to be able to liberate even more land. One of the main issues here today has been to go through all the different capabilities, systems, supplies that the Ukrainians need to be able to retake more land." At the German airbase of Ramstein, Stoltenberg was addressing a gathering of dozens of Kyiv supporters from around the world. The NATO Supremo also mentioned that some Patriot air defense systems had been sent to Ukraine. Germany and the US have now delivered Patriot batteries, which are operational in Ukraine. Germany's military minister, Boris Pistorius, announced at a gathering of allies at the Ramstein airfield on Friday that Germany, Poland, and Ukraine had inked an agreement for a center to repair Leopard tanks used in Ukraine to battle Russian forces. He did, however, issue a warning over any early invitation for Ukraine to join NATO. According to Pistorius, all stakeholders reached an agreement on how to pay for the center, which would cost between €150 and €200 million annually and might start operating at the end of May. Alexei Reznikov, the defense minister of Ukraine, tweeted once more about the meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group in Ramstein, Germany, claiming that due to its unprecedented levels of interoperability, Ukraine is de facto already a part of the alliance's security space. In his opening remarks at a conference with allies today in Germany to discuss bolstering assistance for Kyiv, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin praised the strong and true international solidarity that exists for Kyiv. The Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, had urged Western allies to send more fighter jets and long-range missiles to resist Russian soldiers on the eve of the meeting, gathering delegates from 50 countries. According to AFP, Austin reportedly stated, "Our support for the forces of freedom in Ukraine remains steadfast and true. We'll concentrate on three main topics during the contact group meeting today: air defense, ammunition, and enablers." According to state-run news agency RIA, a Moscow court today issued a warrant for the arrest of Kirill Budanov, the head of Ukrainian military intelligence, accusing him of planning terrorist attacks inside Russia. RIA described the court as saying that Budanov was charged with acts relating to terrorism and arms smuggling, according to Reuters. In an apparent admission that Budanov cannot be held right away, the action against him was announced in absentia. According to Reuters, the Canadian government on Friday approved $39 million Canadian dollars, £23.26 million in fresh military aid for Ukraine. This aid would include 16 radio sets, 40 sniper weapons, and donations to a NATO fund to aid Kyiv in its conflict with Russia. Anita Anand, the defense minister of Canada, made the announcement at the Ramstein Air Base in Germany, where NATO defense officials were meeting to discuss additional military supplies for Ukraine. The most recent wave of Canadian assistance also includes ammo for the rifles. According to a statement from the Canadian Defence Ministry, Prairie Gun Works in Canada will supply the weapons and ammunition, while L3 Harris Technologies will supply the radios. The approximately $34.6 million Canadian dollars, £20.6 million donation to the NATO fund will assist in supplying Ukraine with gasoline and other resources. The UK imposed sanctions on 5 individuals on Friday in connection with the detention of Kremlin critic Vladimir Kara-Murza, who was sentenced to 25 years in prison last week. Denis Kolesnikov and Andrei Zadakin, investigators involved in the arrest of Kara-Murza, as well as Elena Lenskaya, a judge who authorized the arrest of Kara-Murza, will all face consequences. Sanctions will also be given to FSB officers Alexander Samofil and Konstantin Kudryavtsev, who followed Kara-Murza on many journeys before to his poisoning in 2015. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, a Russian warplane inadvertently launched a weapon into the city of Belgorod, which is close to Ukraine, resulting in an explosion and building damage. Local authorities in the city, which is just across the border with Ukraine, reported a significant blast late on Thursday. Vyacheslav Gladkov, the regional governor of Belgorod, reported that 4 apartment complexes, 4 cars and 2 ladies had been hurt. He declared a state of emergency and claimed there was a huge crater 20 meters, 65 feet, wide in the heart of the city. According to Reuters, South African officials received a suggestion this week from Ukrainian activist Alexandra Romantsova that Russian President Vladimir Putin should participate virtually rather than in person at this year's BRICS summit. Because South Africa is a member of the International Criminal Court, ICC, it is obligated to imprison Putin if he attends the 15th BRICS summit, which South Africa will host in August. Putin was the subject of an arrest order issued by the ICC last month. Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary-General of NATO, reiterated the organization's commitment to Ukraine's future membership in the military alliance on Friday. He reportedly told the media that Kyiv has to have the deterrence to prevent new attacks once the war in Ukraine is over before a meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group at the Ramstein airfield in Germany, according to Reuters. Alexei Reznikov, the defense minister of Ukraine, wrote on social media that he had a fruitful meeting with his U.S. colleague on Friday morning at the German air station Ramstein. During his first visit to Ukraine since Russia's invasion 14 months ago, Stoltenberg had stated on Thursday that NATO is where Ukraine's future lay. The head of NATO vowed to continue providing Ukraine with military support, saying, "NATO stands with you today, tomorrow, and for as long as it takes." Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was invited to the July NATO summit in Vilnius. According to Zelensky, NATO must extend an invitation to Ukraine to join and specify a timeline for membership. The political choice to include Ukraine in the alliance, he claimed, is not hindered by any objective factors. And the time for the appropriate decisions is now, when the majority of people in NATO countries and the majority of Ukrainians support NATO membership. 8 Shahid drones made in Iran, according to Ukraine's air defense, were shot down during the course of the night. According to a Polish customs official, rules permitting the exports went into effect overnight, and the first trucks carrying Ukrainian food goods, including maize and eggs, were scheduled to start transiting via Poland to the Netherlands on Friday morning. According to sources in the Japanese government quoted by the Kyodo News Agency on Friday, the G7 is mulling a nearly complete ban on exports to Russia.